Alrighty.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Amy Yedley, and I work for Values into Action and the Collaborative for Citizen-Directed Supports on behalf of the second annual New Jersey Self-Direction Conference. I am honored to present to you today a friend and colleague with Values into Action. Her name is Christina Rappisi, Director of Support Coordination. Christina is presenting today on the topic of self-direct using the Charting the LifeCourse framework. Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amy. I'm happy to be here today. Good morning. So as Amy said, I'm going to be presenting on self-direction using Charting the LifeCourse. My name is Christina, and I am the Director of Support Coordination at Values into Action. So today's agenda, we'll do some introductions. I'll talk about what is support coordination, what is self-direction. We'll go through using Charting the LifeCourse to achieve self-direction. I'll run through an integrated support star, a life trajectory tool, life domains vision tool, and then we'll talk about putting it all together. So who is Values into Action? Values into Action is one of the original 3 support coordination agencies in New Jersey. We pride ourselves on getting involved at all levels. We try to meet people where they are and offer solutions and options, not only when it comes to those supported, but also at the state level. We partner with the Division of Developmental Disabilities to provide feedback on processes, procedures, and updates. It truly is a team effort. So what is support coordination? I'm going to give you like a brief overview because I feel that it all goes together with self-direction, Charting the LifeCourse, and like who are all the players and where everyone fits in. So who you choose to work with is imperative to your self-direction journey. So support coordinators will listen to you and your family about what you want, will facilitate your planning session to create your individual support plan that reflects your vision, will translate your hopes into a plan that guides you and your team, and will help you to manage your DDD budget as established by your NJCAT assessment. It's not just about writing the plan, it's also about finding out what does the person want or need. How can this plan help to translate a person's good life? How can we ensure it captures what the person doesn't want in their life as well? Your support coordinator will take you step by step. And I always tell people the process can be overwhelming, but to think of it as a journey over time, and it helps to break it apart. Nothing is set in stone. Your support coordinator will check in with you at least once per month to see how things are going for you. We'll collaborate your service providers to make sure you're doing what you want and getting the support that you need. We'll make updates to your plan as needed and at least once per year at the annual plan meeting. And we'll connect you with resources and services that you control and direct. Recognizing that each person we support has a different life, we believed it was important to incorporate and adopt Charting the LifeCourse tools into our planning meetings. The division has created amazing tools. There's the individualized service plan and the person-centered planning tool, and it captures what the person needs in order to be supported, what they like and dislike, who and what is important to them. But utilizing the Charting the LifeCourse framework allows us to take a deeper dive into the person's future. What do they see long-term as their good life? Not only what do they need right now, but what do they want in the future? There's a section in the New Jersey planning documents for short-term and long-term goals, but it doesn't really go into a lot of details. So when we use the Charting the LifeCourse tools, it helps to be intentional and thoughtful in the planning. And it's because of this that the framework has impacted our organization and practices. What to look for in a support coordination agency? Experience. What are their values? What's their supervision structure and support for their support coordinators? What counties do they serve, and are they conflict-free? Having a good team behind you, which includes a great support coordinator, is what makes or breaks the journey of self-direction. All right. So what is self-direction? So you have a self-directed model and you have a traditional model of service. A self-directed model is person-centered planning with delivery of services in the home or community. It's directed by a person's strengths, needs, and desires, and it promotes personal choice and control over the delivery of waiver and state plan services, including who provides the service and how services are provided. A more traditional model of service would be a system-centered approach, which our resources and services are predetermined without consideration of individual needs, strengths, or goals. People supported are defined and treated through the idea of what the system needs in order to run efficiently, and it promotes system efficiency, rules, regulations, and authority over people. We're going to focus on the self-directed approach. Okay. So there's two types of ways to hire staff. You have a self-directed employee, which many of you may hear the term SDE, versus a direct support professional or a DSP. A self-directed employee is a person who's hired by the person receiving support. It can be, and the person who it could either be the person, the family member, legal guardian, they would be the employer of record. So the staff would be supervised and managed by that person. And then the payroll's processed through a fiscal intermediary. And this person that's being hired could be a family member, a friend, somebody that you know in your local community, right? A friend of a friend, more word of mouth, which makes for a better relationship and a longer term staff person. Then on the flip side, you have a direct support professional, which is a person that's employed by an agency. And then that support person is managed and supervised by that hiring agency. They are the employer of record, and the DSP is not personally selected by the person who they support. You're involved in the process, like you would meet the person before they come to support you, but you're not hand selecting that staff person. What are some drivers and challenges of hiring a self-directed employee? So some of the pros of hiring an SDE is that the person receiving the support is in control of the support staff and how much they decide to pay their staff, which you could choose to pay up to $25 per hour. And you can hire family or friends as that support staff. The person can also utilize a supports broker to help hire, train, and onboard a self-directed employee. Some people choose that option to help because it's a lot of paperwork, which is one of the challenges of hiring an SDE, is that you have more responsibility. You may have to wait a little bit of time to have the staff's paperwork process. There's background check and fingerprinting. And also finding that person can sometimes be a challenge if you don't already have someone in mind. However, when you do find that person, you're the one who's training them and talking to them about how you want to be supported, and you are the boss of your service at that time. A really awesome resource is there's a link at the bottom here, the collaborative.nj.org, where you can utilize an interactive map to help find a support staff. So be sure to jot that down and check that out. What are some drivers and challenges of hiring a DSP or a direct support professional? A pro is that the agency has that responsibility of processing that new hire paperwork with the background checks and fingerprinting. They're supervising the DSP, so if there's an issue, you would tell the agency and then they would have a conversation with the DSP, and then the agency is training that person. But on the flip side of that, a challenge is that then you have little say over who your DSP is, and you have little control over who's coming into your house. So if you don't like the person, you're never locked into that service. But two, it may take a little bit of time to find someone because you're not the person that's looking for the staff person, the agency is looking. So sometimes they tend to miss the mark on what someone is really looking for when they're in their interview process with the staff. So that staff person could not have things in common with you. Usually, typically, the pay is much less than the $25 an hour. It's typically around 12 to 15 per hour. So that's also, a challenge. And sometimes they don't show up for their shift and there's no backup. And there's a higher turnover when that person doesn't have that direct connection to you. Okay. So now we're going to go into a little bit of charting the life course and how to use these tools to achieve self-direction and to really help map out what you're looking for. Okay, so you'll see three circles here on the page. The circle on the left represents all of us. We all exist in the context of our families and our communities. The middle circle represents when someone has traditional DD services. Sometimes with the best of intentions, they wrap services so tightly around the person, it actually ends up cutting them off from their family, friends, and their community because it's so service focused. What we want to get to is the circle on the right, where the person is receiving lots of different kinds of support. Represented, you'll see the stars, but only where and when they're needed and whether or not they're eligible for paid support. So it's a mixture of unpaid support as well as paid support, rather than just focusing on paid support and services. So there's a quick guide. There's a link here at the bottom of the page. So there's these quick guides that are on the website of Charting the Life Course, and it's a really awesome tool if you want to check it out on their website. This one that we're going to focus on is focusing on adulthood. So it runs through daily life and employment, community living, safety and security, social and spirituality, healthy living, advocacy, and engagement. And it gives you different questions to ask yourself and to ask your team in your planning meeting to figure out your vision for your good life. The core belief of Charting the Life Course is all people and their families have the right to live, love, work, play, learn, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. Utilizing these tools benefit everyone involved. The person can create the life that they choose, and then the support circle can see themselves in that process and where they're going to fit in. So all domains are important to address. And I'll just give you, because it's smaller here on the screen, I'll give you some questions that each one kind of tells you to think about. So with daily life and employment, you may say to yourself, what kind of job do I think I would like to try? What do I like to do, or what do I want to learn more about? What supports will I need for either work or other daytime activities, and who will provide those services and supports? Community living, where do I think I might want to live in the future? And what technology or home modifications would help me function better or be more independent in my home? For safety and security, you may ask, which life areas concern my parents and loved ones most in terms of my safety? What am I doing to know what to do in case of an emergency or a disaster? What kind of support would I need? With social and spirituality, what social media could I use safely and responsibly to connect with and maintain contact with friends? What am I doing for fun that other people my age do? In the healthy living section, you may ask yourself, how am I learning about the importance of healthy eating and regular exercise? How am I learning to talk about my disability or healthcare needs with others? And then in the advocacy and engagement section, how am I being supported to share my life vision at educational or other support meetings? And what steps are my parents and others taking to shift control of my life to me? I'm just going to check the chat here. Okay, good. So we talked about the stars earlier in the circle of support and what that means. And so these are resources and strategies to promote the development, education, interest, and personal well-being of a person, and that enhances individual and family functioning. So you want to think too, because a lot of people tend to focus like solely on their DDD budget and what that can provide to them. And then we miss out on opportunities to tap into other benefits and other resources that are outside of that. So you want to use a combination of all of those things to receive services and support. So are you learning about the supports and benefits that you could receive, how to manage your money, services and supports, and are you leading your planning meetings? So your in support coordination, it would be the ISP and PCPT. And then have you applied for different benefits? Have you looked into Social Security, Medicaid, state DDD services? What are the pros and cons of each? And how might it affect your future ability to earn income? And then if you were to be working, what are the programs that you can tap into to make sure that it doesn't affect your Medicaid and Social Security and then your DDD budget? Okay, so here's the integrated support star. Again, all these resources can be found on the LifeCourse, Charting the LifeCourse framework website. And I can pop that into the chat at the end, or too, you'll have my email. You can reach out to me and I can send you some good links. So with the integrated support star, this one I really love because it's split into two, like what's working now and what do you need to think about in the future, or what do you have now, who is in your life now, and then what kinds of relationships are you looking for in the future. So you have the personal strengths and assets. These are things a person is doing well and that others like and admire about the person. It's maybe resources that are owned or can be accessed by the person, and it's personal abilities and knowledge of experience. So you would want to do, like what's working now? What do you need to think about? With relationships, who are your families and friends that you're spending time with that are helping to care for you? And then acquaintances that you come into frequent contact with, but you don't know that well. Maybe you want to build those relationships in the future. In the bottom right-hand corner, you have a spot for eligibility specific. So these are needs-based services based on your age, your location, your income level, maybe your employment status. So you want to think about, what are these programs, as I was talking about in the last slide, what are these different programs that you can tap into? What are you tapping into now? And what do you need to look into in the future? For community-based in the bottom left, you have what are some places maybe that you're going to on a regular basis? Maybe you are hanging out at a different park. Maybe you're going to school. Maybe you're part of a faith-based community. Maybe, like what healthcare facilities are you going to, doctor's offices? What kinds of memberships do you have? Do you have like a gym membership? Are you participating in an art class or a yoga class? What are some local and public resources that everyone uses? Again, not just focusing on the DDD budget and what that can provide to you, but really researching in your local community what's available to you. And then you have the technology section, and you want to think like, okay, do you have a smartphone? Do you need to look into an alarm system or a monitoring system? Is there some assistive or adaptive technology that can help you out with day-to-day tasks that you can tap into? And what are some environmental technologies designed to help with or help you adapt to your surroundings? Okay. Now we'll go into the life trajectory tool. This is really to explore what are you envisioning for your life? What are you absolutely not wanting? So in the top left, you want to think about positive past experiences. What are some things that you'd like to continue on your journey to your good life? And then on the bottom of where that arrow is going up to the right top corner, you want to list some things that you want to avoid and not repeat. So what are some negative past experiences that you're like, absolutely not, I've been there, I've done that, I don't want to do that again? You want to think about that and jot that down. In the vision for what I want, you want to think about what are some of like your goals for your upcoming year, or 5 years from now, right? What are some things that you really want to try to tap into in your future? And then what are your absolute no's? What do you not want? That's going to go in that bottom box there in the right-hand corner. And you want to think about like risks and obstacles that are going to prevent you from getting to what you want. And so these tools can be used in a variety of ways. So don't think that you're doing it wrong. Like if you're just jotting stuff down, it's just good to get something down on paper and to see it and to visualize it, and then think about it and break it down piece by piece to see like which way do you need to go. It's here to help us think more clearly about what goal we're going towards. So I have an example that we had done with someone that we support, and it was a really good process. And at the end, she really appreciated it because it really gave her the time and space to talk about what she was thinking and feeling. And then to see it sort of like written down on paper, it just brings it to reality. So some of the things that we talked about for her is that she wants people to see that small steps for her are progress. It may seem small, but it's actually a big deal, and it's getting her to where she wants to go. And she said during the meeting, just because a baby falls when learning how to walk doesn't mean the baby isn't going to learn how to walk. She talked about changing her environment and circle of support, having better friends and consistency and caring and positivity, and the consistent planning like we had done during this meeting. She wanted to continue that and have that solid support system. She didn't want to be looked at as a job. She wants guidance and reassurance. And she said, it's life, things happen. So she said for what she wants in her life, she says, I want to be great. I want to be able to do stuff on my own. She doesn't want to have to rely on others. She wants to be self-motivated, to be able to speak for herself and have more positive self-talk. She wants to leave the past in the past. She needs encouragement and acknowledgement that she is doing a good job. She would love to be her own boss, be a lending hand, giving people what she felt she didn't have, having a stable job, helping people, creating a happy and healthy home with love, no judging, having openness, being a mother to a daughter, being a mentor or big sister for others, and creating a home and family and foundation. What she absolutely did not want for her life is she doesn't want other people doing stuff for her. She doesn't want people reminding her what she needs to do. She wants to be able to do it for herself. She doesn't want people talking for her. She doesn't like the negative talk and people dwelling on her mistakes, toxic people, judgy people, and people not realizing that she is making progress. When she thinks back a couple of years ago, she sees the progress that she made, that she's made this far. And sometimes family is not as quick to see the progress that she's making. Okay, now we'll do an example of the life domain vision tool. So this is, as I talked about earlier, with all the life domains. So sort of asking yourself, what in each area, what do you envision for your future? So for her daily life and employment, she said she'd like to work with people, children, people who need my help, something that doesn't feel like a job to her, maybe an Applebee's hostess, or even a self-directed employee for someone. For community living, she said she'd like to live in her own apartment, somewhere cheaper, calmer, and quieter than New Jersey. The ultimate goal for her would be to move to Maryland or Virginia. For social and spirituality, she said that she believes there's a God or Jesus, but doesn't like to label her religion. She likes to pray with her family in person and over the phone. She likes to meet people on social media first because she feels she's able to be herself there. And then the people already know who she is when she meets them in person. For healthy living, she keeps up with her medical appointments. She turns to God. She meets with her family over the phone, like a prayer line, but with family prayer. And they meet for almost 2 hours praying and singing. For safety and security, she tries to and wants to avoid people who make her uncomfortable and who don't have her best interest at heart. In advocacy and engagement, she says she owes herself the world. She owes it to herself to be happy and loved and not to let people use her, and she owes herself self-respect. For supports for family, she says she has a large family of 15 siblings. Her grandmother and brothers are very important to her, and she'd like that her family to see how she can grow and change over time. She says, I wish they'd let the past go and see how far I've come. And for supports and services, she says that she needs positive people in her life to motivate her, to call her, ask how she's doing. She wants consistent people who see that she's making progress despite it being small steps. Even small steps should be celebrated. People change and grow. Accept me where I am now today. So putting it all together. So as you see, you know, breaking it down and seeing what a person is envisioning, and then how can we tap into different services and resources to make that happen. So some of the services that you can access with your DDG budget are listed here. You're never locked in and you're able to try new things. So you want to be able to explore your options. Taking time to figure it all out, it is a journey and it's not going to be figured out all at one time. Sometimes, you know, when we start working with someone that's come to us brand new and they're just coming into the system, maybe from school, and they have a lot of like ideas, but they don't know where to start. So I always tend to tell them, like, let's start with the most important thing. So let's prioritize, like, what's most important to you. Do you want to find someone to come into the home, to help you at home, and to take you out into the community to do the things that you enjoy doing? Like, what are your goals? And then how can we tap into these different services? And then when you have that one thing going really well for you, then at that point, let's add something else, right? So that you're not trying to just cram everything in and then becoming overwhelmed. It's kind of like, let's get one thing set up, that's going really well. Maybe now you want to add a class, so let's figure that out, get you set up, see how you're liking that class. You know, because sometimes people, they may sign up for like a cooking class and then they say, this is not what I thought I wanted to do at all. So I just want to end it all together. And now I want to tap into maybe horseback riding. So it's really a chance for people to explore their interests. And so really tapping into both paid and unpaid services. Two of the most exciting budget allowances are support brokers and goods and services. So a support broker is essential to living a self-directed life. This person will help you to identify and hire personal support staff, and that support broker can also help identify community resources. So it's just an extra added hand to really get you set up, and that's a service that you can use a lot in the beginning and then kind of pull back a little bit as you have things set up. And then if you want to add something else or revise, maybe the person that you're working with is no longer working out, or they had to leave or reduce their hours, you can always tap back into that support broker to help you identify an additional person. Also, goods and services. This is a service that can help you to pay for community services like yoga class, a gym membership, or horseback riding. So if you find something in your local community, yourself, your support coordinator, your support broker, we can reach out to them and then see, like, are they willing to participate with the DDG budget? And then how would they get set up as a vendor so that they can accept payment for their service? And the services must be the cost of what is considered customary for that service. So for instance, like, you couldn't find a $500 a month gym and sign up there. The division has set limits on that. Okay. Any questions or comments? Let me just check in the chat here.
Christina, this is Amy.
Sure.
Just to comment on, you were talking earlier about dropping the tools in the chat. I've done that for the attendees today. You're welcome. And I also indicated that we could have a more in-depth discussion once I include the recording. So if you'd like to proceed with the end of your presentation, we can do that in a more intimate setting with questions and answers.
Sure, fantastic. Thank you for putting that in the chat. So here's my email. If you have more questions and want to connect, please feel free to reach out. And then I'll stop sharing and we can have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Christina.
Yeah.
That concludes our presentation today on the topic of self-direct using the Charting Life Course framework. You'll see this recording on YouTube in the coming weeks. And we're going to stop recording now so we can hang out with those that are currently in the room and get into an in-depth conversation and questions about Charting the Life Course tool. So thank you, Christina.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.